So a 21-year-old Amazon delivery driver earlier this week, she was bitten by a venomous rattlesnake. This was an eastern diamondback. The incident was life-threatening and she's in serious condition right now, recovering. Now this occurred as a driver was delivering a package at the door of a home in the Highland Reserve community, located around 40 miles north of West Palm Beach. Now the driver, whose identity just for privacy reasons remains undisclosed, she was performing her daily tasks, just her daily deliveries, when she encountered the snake coiled up near the front door of her residence. Now, as she placed the customer's package down, the snake, it felt threatened, so it struck swiftly at her, biting her in the back of the leg, just above the knee. So it's reported that the young woman immediately began feeling severe symptoms just moments later and managed to call 911 while she was crying out in pain as she spoke to the dispatcher, who tried to calm her, urging her to breathe and stay composed, because any increase in blood flow and pressure could, of course, process the venom through her body much quicker. Now, the Martin County Sheriff's Office and other first responders were quick to the scene, and also body cam police footage captured the moments after the incident, showing the driver sitting on the ground, visibly in pain with a large bloody wound where the bite occurred, completely visible.
Obviously, everybody's secured in there. Nobody's going in there.
Right.
I see it on there still.
Looks like a rattle.
Okay. Where did it bite you, miss? Okay. Just here's what we're gonna do. All right. I'm gonna loosen this up because we don't want any kind of constriction. All right. It might hurt a little bit. You'll be all right.
And ma'am, we are checking with the hospital.
She was then transported to an area hospital in very serious condition, where she was listed as being critical but stable. Now, Sergeant Brian Tyson, a deputy with the Martin County Sheriff's Office who specializes in dealing with snakes, he played a crucial role in the aftermath of the incident. He was called to the scene to manage the aggressive rattlesnake that had bitten the driver.
The snake actually remained up on that porch. Our deputies, they euthanized the snake there on the spot at the house.
So as you just heard, moments later, the authorities had to euthanize the snake. And this was, of course, due to the fact that, just as the officer just mentioned, children and pets, you don't want rattlesnakes around them because they reach into all kinds of places and they're very curious naturally, of course. So it's just common sense. You don't want highly deadly and aggressive rattlesnakes just roaming around freely, and this is Florida, right? So you got to be careful. Now, the snake that bit the woman, it's the eastern diamondback once again. It's scientifically known as Crotalus adamantius. It's notorious for its highly potent venom and aggressive nature when threatened. Now, these species belong to a family of Viperidae and are considered one of the most venomous species of rattlesnakes. Of course, the western diamondback, we covered a notorious case that happened a couple of years ago. It actually happened with a man who was bitten by a decapitated rattlesnake. But that was a western diamondback. I'll leave the link for you at the end screen of this video if you haven't heard that story yet. He was envenomated by just the head of a rattlesnake, and that was just a really insane story. He's really lucky to be alive because this snake actually envenomated its entire venom sac into this man. Of course, as a last resort because it knew it was going to die anyways. And even though the venom is highly precious to these snakes, if they know they're going to die, of course they don't need it anymore. So his name was Jeremy Sutcliffe, and he was just really lucky to be alive. So the venom of the eastern diamondback, it can have severe consequences if a bite is not treated promptly. It primarily affects the blood and tissues of the victim, causing symptoms such as severe pain, swelling, and bruising. It can also cause major tissue damage, bleeding disorders, and also in severe cases, systemic effects like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, shock, organ failure, and of course in the most severe cases, even death.
The venom would no doubt course through her body, and her ability to recuperate and get better would be that much more diminished.
So immediate medical attention is crucial for anyone bitten by the eastern diamondback, or any rattlesnake for that matter, and usually antivenom is administered to neutralize the venom, and additional treatments and future visits to the hospital are typically needed in order to manage symptoms and other potential complications. Now, the prognosis can vary depending on the amount of venom that was injected, the location of the bite, and also how quickly treatment is received. Now, Amazon did speak out. Their spokesperson, Brandon Barabo, he expressed the company's concern, stating that our thoughts are with the driver, and we hope for a full recovery for this frightening incident. Now, I really hope that they paid for the antivenom and the expenses here, because antivenom is not cheap, of course. In the last case that I was just talking about, Jeremy Sutcliffe, they were paying upwards of $60,000 US just for vials of this antivenom called Crofab, which is, of course, clear evidence of just how much of a dent an unfortunate situation like this can put in your pocket. Now, Amy Kite, who's the executive director of the Bush Wildlife Sanctuary, she went on to mention that while rattlesnakes are common in South Florida, bites are not, because there are only 300 bites or so that occur every year in Florida, and not many of them are fatal, of course, thanks to the availability of antivenom. So this is just for rattlesnakes, not all snake species. Now this incident, it has left locals, including those working in areas with dense foliage, feeling very uneasy at the moment, and they're being much more vigilant right now about the presence of snakes, and it's serving as a reminder of the unexpected dangers that can arise in everyday environments, you know, where you have your kids, where you have your family, where you have your pets. So of course this really adds to the importance of being aware, and especially in these areas where this kind of wildlife is prevalent.
It was pretty scary because I'm like, we go in areas that are very wooded, do filters and clean filter cartridges, and I was definitely, you know, now I'm going to be on the lookout for sure, because that was one big snake that we saw the picture of.
Now interestingly, this isn't the first time this year that a delivery driver has had a close encounter with a rattlesnake on a porch, but this didn't happen with Amazon, it actually happened with FedEx. It was a FedEx driver in Nebraska who narrowly avoided a bite while making his rounds in August. He was luckily warned by the rattlesnake, who just set off its rattler, and it just displayed how agitated it was. But what he did was he killed the snake using a shovel and a rake, and then he later texted the homeowner saying that I hope you didn't have a pet rattlesnake at your front door because I killed him, and sorry about the blood. So he likely saved some lives there, or like a future calamity from happening with that family, because these are unexpected encounters. Snakes are not out to get us, but usually this happens, you know, in defensive situation where the snake feels threatened or it just got startled. Usually these things, they're just really unfortunate incidents that happen. Once again, snakes don't go out of their way to bite us. Now earlier this month, a US Navy veteran named Rudy Norlander, he was brutally attacked by a grizzly bear in Montana. This happened in Custer-Gallatin Forest. He in fact had his jaw torn off by this grizzly bear in what he described to be the most horrible French kiss he'd ever received. So if you can stomach that one, I'll leave it for you at the end screen of this video. Once again, there's no gory footage or anything like that. It's just the details of that story. They're quite hard to stomach.